Hi, I'm Daniela and this is Jocelyn. Thanks for coming back to our channel.
Today we're going to talk about how our conception plan changed and where we are now.
For those of you just tuning in, we started trying to conceive in October of 2020. We decided to do the at-home ICI insemination method, and we were pretty overwhelmed with the amount of information and hurdles we had to jump through getting started as a same-sex couple trying to have a baby. So that is why we created this channel, to bring more information to families and people out there trying to conceive.
In our last video, which can be found in the link above, we talk more about our decision to postpone our conception journey and what it took to get back on track and feel ready enough to start this process again.
In this video, we are happy and eager to tell you how our journey has evolved and the things that we are doing now to try and have a baby.
Before getting into that, I do want to take a moment to recognize that the decision to postpone conception was something we really struggled with, but it's also something that taught us a lot.
You're right. We became stronger in our commitment to each other and more patient in achieving our future goals. In the grand scheme of things, postponing having a baby did give us a great new perspective, and we have appreciated things a little bit more now.
After several referrals and weeks of searching, we did find a fertility clinic in our area that we wanted to work with, and we basically started the whole insemination process over again. One of the first things I remember that fertility clinic telling us was that if we used a known sperm donor like we had been doing in the past, their sample would have to be tested and FDA approved before they could use it.
Yeah, when it came down to it, we could either bring our known donor in and have him jump through the hoops and go through the tests so that we can use his sample, with the risks that maybe, the count might not be high enough, or, many other factors, or we just had to choose another sperm donor from an online bank, which is what they highly recommended.
One thing that kept weighing heavily in my head was that it would take months for this sperm sample to be tested, and there was really no guarantee that it was even going to be viable enough to use. I mean, there could be a chance, but there was no guarantee.
Of course, I agree with Jocelyn to the point on time, but for me, it was a little bit more difficult to come to that actualization because we had spent a long time finding our donor, cultivating a relationship with the donor, and making sure everything lined up perfectly. As I previously mentioned in our other videos, it was really difficult for me to connect with online donors and really find a way to say, like, hey, this person on the internet's gonna be helping me create a baby.
Yeah, it kind of felt like, we're gonna make you pick someone you're not exactly sure about, and you also have to pay like 10 times more money.
Yeah.
Oh, it seemed like at the end of the day, it was really time and money that were our two biggest deciding factors when it came to what kind of sperm we were going to use.
Yeah, we ultimately had to make a decision, especially considering the cost of sperm was only one part in this process. We also had to talk with our doctor about what route we were going to use for insemination. As we've talked about in our videos in the past, ICI, intracervical insemination, is something that many people do at home, not in doctors' offices. But in the office, you can do Iui, intrauterine insemination, and IVF, in vitro fertilization. To learn more about types of artificial insemination, click the link above.
Our new specialist recommended that we go the route of IVF, or in vitro fertilization, which is known to be the most effective and in-depth process. So just like that, the few $100s we were spending every month on at-home insemination turned into a few $1,000s per cycle.
Our insurance does not cover IVF, so financially we couldn't commit to IVF to pay out of pocket. So we did take this time to call our insurance company and see what exactly it is that they do cover, and it turns out that they do cover IUI, so that's where we went. To be honest, I was like a little afraid of doing IVF because it just felt like a big step, and we had only been doing at-home insemination. Although I really liked the chances and the statistics of IVF working, I was a little scared about all the injections and the things that you have to do.
So the main reasons we chose IUI were because it was less intrusive and less expensive. Unfortunately, it was also a little bit less effective.
Ultimately, we decided to choose what worked best for us financially and to give IUI a try.
After figuring out the two most important parts of this process, what type of sample we're using, what type of procedure we're using, it felt like it'd be smooth sailing from there, but that was just the start.
Yeah.
It was now time to start looking through spermer donor files.
Sperm donor files, which you all know is a goddamn treat for me.
Sperm donor profiles. What can we say about sperm donor profiles? We love them, we hate them.
We hate them. We read countless profiles, and it took weeks. I'd say, a good month or more before we came to a decision.
Yeah, it took a while.
What we liked about using online sperm banks is, the information is there for you, the genetic testing, CMV status, STD testing, that's all there. What I didn't like about using online sperm banks is just feeling so, what was the word again?
Exploited?
Yeah, that's the word I kept using. They only give you like so much information, and then you have to pay more to see more. You don't just get to view a profile and see a full picture of a donor. If you want to see their full genetic profile, you have to pay more sometimes if you want to see their photo of them as an adult, you have to pay more. So I just felt like we were really being nickeled and dimed for every little thing, and you may not even choose this donor in the long run. And our donor pool was very limited by the fact that I am CMV negative, so I had to find a CMV negative donor, and I am a carrier of 2 genetic diseases, so I also had to make sure that a full genetic panel was run and that they tested negative for those genetic diseases as well.
My focus was, obviously we wanted to be smart about the decisions that we made, but a picture isn't everything. Obviously, we're going to love and support our child regardless of what the sperm donor looked like. So maybe focusing on the personality traits and that component of the profile would help us feel a little bit more connected.
I think the more information I had was what was tripping me up the most.
Our fertility clinic also had to approve the sperm bank we used, which ensured a higher level of care, and we weren't able to just pick any old sperm donor, so it felt like we had their support.
We took a very different approach to choosing a sperm donor, and there was a lot to be considered.
Yeah.
And we feel good about it. Now getting into the IUI process. This was totally new for us, so it was a big hurdle, but our clinic was really great. They gave us a lot of information to read. They always sent me home with a packet and like, these are what the next steps will look like. So I called them on day 1, cycle day 1 of my period, let them know, hey, we're starting. They gave me an appointment for cycle day 3 or 4 to come in and get baseline blood work and ultrasound. At that appointment, they kind of let you know what the rest of the cycle is going to look like. They gave me a prescription for letrozole to help grow my eggs. I had to take that prescription for 5 days, and then I would come back after and they would look at the progression and give me an ultrasound to see where my eggs and follicles were. I received a couple ultrasounds and blood work to see where my levels were and how my eggs and follicles were growing. Once they looked big enough, they instructed me to give myself a trigger injection, which is an injection of Hgc that will help my egg to release and cause me to ovulate. Usually they tell you to trigger and then you come in the next day for your procedure. For us, as always, we faced several obstacles during this process.
Yes, it was the anything that can go wrong more than likely will go wrong in this scenario. We were probably about like a week out till we were ready to inseminate when we found out that our sperm donor actually wasn't tested for the genetic things we needed him to be tested for, which meant at this point we would need to meet with a genetic counselor again in order to assume the risk that we were okay if we conceived, that there's a chance that baby might have one of the two of these things. While that was all going on and trying to coordinate finding time to schedule with a genetic counselor before we actually had our procedure, we also learned that the Hgc Trigger Shot that we were prescribed was not covered by our insurance. It was rejecting it. So then we had to go through this chaotic loop of calls between a specialty pharmacist and our insurance company and our fertility clinic to figure out how to get a trigger shot that we could actually work with and our insurance covered. And then when all of that was going on, after all of that was going on, we find out that we might have missed your ovulation window altogether until you insisted on being checked again, where we like just made it.
Yeah. So we got the medication like just in the nick of time. It arrived the day before I needed to use the trigger shot. And it was like really awkward timing because it looked like I was going to ovulate on Christmas Day, which obviously the clinic's not open on Christmas Day. We were supposed to be out of town Christmas Day. So things were getting a little bit more complicated, but I just kept saying, let me come in again for another scan. I think that my eggs will probably be ready. And luckily we did. We got there and everything was ready, good to go. My lining looked right. My follicles looked right. My numbers looked right. So we were able to trigger and inseminate on Christmas Eve.
That was the one time where I feel like it was good to know your body. Even though you were taking medications, which they kept saying will change your levels, you knew your body, and we had been trying this for a year. You knew that you peak quickly, so you're like, just check me again. Yeah. And thank God you insisted, because then we were able to see like, wow, we would have missed it.
Yeah, exactly. We were just really thankful that we were able to catch it, and the office was actually like pretty reasonable and understanding. Like if you think that you're gonna ovulate sooner, just come in, we'll test you again, and then we'll go from there. And so that's exactly what we did, and it worked out.
But the day of, we got there, we checked in, we made sure, confirmed our sample. The longest part of the whole thing was waiting for the sample to thaw. Once that took place, we were good to go. It probably was like 10 minutes in and out with the nurses telling you what to do. A lot of it kind of felt similar to what we've been doing, except for they were just able to go further into the uterus, so the sperm had less to travel.
Exactly. So they used like a sterile catheter and just went into the uterus, inserted the sample. If anyone has ever had like a FemView saline ultrasound, it kind of felt like that, just a little bit less painful. And it just went right up in, and I was like, oh wow, that was it. And then throughout the day, I did have a little bit of cramping and bloating in my lower abdomen, but nothing like to note, nothing serious. I'm just like, oh, there's a little sperm inside me.
So we went on about our day and got to enjoy that 20-minute bliss until we found out that COVID then took us away from seeing a big part of our family. So we had, another change of events. We just decided to stay in, just, us, and keep it low-key this year, which was kind of nice.
Yeah, we just wanted to be extra cautious and make sure that, we weren't getting anything, especially during the 2-week wait when we know that that's like a super fragile period. During our 2-week wait, we decided to just like put it out of our minds, stay present and stay positive. 1 week after insemination, I went back to the office for blood work and checked my progesterone levels, which were good, above normal. So that's what they like to see. That was very exciting, but I still tried to remain like, don't get too excited, just remain positive and stay in the present. So really excited for our friends and our followers who have gotten their BFP in the new year in 2022. So congratulations to all of you out there who are moving forward with your babies this year. We're going to keep our fingers crossed and hope that we'll get lucky this year too.
For more content on modern day conception and to see the results of our first attempt at IUI, please like and subscribe.
We'll see you soon.